Have you ever felt like the more you think deeply, the more isolated you become, that the more you understand, the less people want to listen? It's not just in your head. Society has always feared deep thinkers, not because they are wrong, but because they see what others don't want. History proves it, from Socrates to from Galileo to Tesla. Brilliant minds have been ridiculed, silenced, or ignored, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they made people uncomfortable. Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers, believed that intelligence itself was a curse, one that isolates those who see the world too clearly. This experience isn't unique, nor is it new. Across cultures and generations, those who choose to confront reality instead of accepting illusions often find themselves walking alone. The ability to reflect deeply, to question, analyze, and deconstruct can be both a gift and a burden. In fact, studies in modern psychology suggest that those who engage in higher levels of introspection often report greater feelings of alienation. This isn't because their ideas are flawed, but because society tends to reward conformity over originality. Deep thinking has always been at odds with the comfortable norms of the majority. But why does this happen? Why does society resist those who think differently? The answer lies deep within human psychology. Human beings, by evolutionary design, seek safety and familiarity. Ideas that deviate from the group's shared beliefs often create cognitive dissonance, a psychological discomfort that the average person instinctively avoids. Throughout history, the thinkers who challenged prevailing dogmas weren't silenced because they were unintelligent, but because their very presence forced people to confront inconvenient truths. Think about this. When you stand next to someone who is physically strong, you don't necessarily feel weak. You admire their strength. When you meet someone who is rich, you might envy them, but you don't feel personally attacked. But when you encounter someone who is intellectually superior, something strange happens. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A deep thinker does not just introduce new ideas, they reflect back the limitations of those around them. And people don't forgive that easily. The mere presence of someone who thinks deeply can make others feel inadequate, even if the deep thinker says nothing at all. This phenomenon reveals the fragility of human ego. When someone with great physical strength or material success enters a room, their superiority is external and often inspiring. But intellectual depth touches a far more sensitive area. It calls into question the mental constructs by which others define themselves. People don't just see a smart person. They see a comparison, a reflection of their own cognitive shortcomings. It's no surprise that rather than sparking admiration, intellect often triggers quiet defensiveness. It's not arrogance that society resents, but the uncomfortable realization that their perspectives may be incomplete. But why does this happen? Why does intelligence, more than any other kind of superiority, provoke such discomfort? Unlike beauty or wealth, intelligence isn't something we simply observe. It's something we internally measure ourselves against. This internal benchmarking often leads to an identity crisis, especially in environments where critical thinking isn't culturally nurtured. It's easier to feel less attractive than to feel less aware, because the latter directly threatens how we see ourselves in the world. To understand this, let's consider how our minds process different forms of superiority. When someone is physically stronger, we might see them as a leader or protector. When someone is wealthier, we might admire their success or aspire to achieve something similar. These qualities, strength, wealth, beauty, are external. We recognize them, but they don't necessarily challenge our core self-perception. However, intelligence operates differently. Because intellect operates in the realm of internal reality, our values, beliefs, and reasoning. Any challenge to it feels like a personal affront. That's why intelligent discourse often sparks more emotional resistance than debates about money, fashion, or fitness. It shakes the very foundation of our constructed worldview. Unlike physical strength or material wealth, intelligence is deeply tied to identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of the world. When we meet someone who thinks on a deeper level, someone who questions what we take for granted, it can feel like a direct attack on our sense of self instead of admiring intelligence. Many people subconsciously resist it not because the deep thinker is arrogant or dismissive, but because their very presence forces others to confront their own limitations. Our identities are built like intricate puzzles, composed of beliefs, assumptions, and learned narratives. When a deep thinker enters the conversation, it's as if someone starts rearranging the puzzle pieces. Most people are not ready for that level of disruption. They perceive the thinker not as a guide, but as a threat. The challenge isn't in the words spoken, but in the silent invitation to reflect. And reflection is uncomfortable when it unveils intellectual blind spots we'd rather keep hidden. This is why throughout history, deep thinkers have been pushed to the fringes of society. Their insights don't just challenge ideas, they challenge egos and human beings. By nature, will do almost anything to protect their ego from discomfort. Ego preservation is a survival instinct as ancient as the fight or flight response. When someone challenges our sense of understanding, we instinctively respond with defensiveness or dismissal, not because we dislike the person, but because we're trying to shield ourselves from cognitive pain. History is full of cases where societies turned on those who dared to illuminate uncomfortable truths. Their exile wasn't just social, it was psychological. In pushing them away, society was pushing away the discomfort of transformation. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever tried to introduce a deep or complex idea in a casual conversation, only to be met with blank stares or awkward silence? Have you ever noticed how people quickly shift topics when discussions move? Beyond surface-level chatter, this is not just coincidence, it's a defense mechanism. Most people aren't resistant to ideas, they're resistant to change. Casual conversations are comfort zones, not battlefields of insight. The moment someone disrupts that emotional equilibrium, even with good intentions, defense walls go up. This instinct to retreat to the surface is not personal, it's psychological. Understanding this can help deep thinkers navigate interactions with more grace and less frustration. When people encounter a deep thinker, their mind goes into self-preservation mode. Instead of being curious, they resist. Instead of engaging, they dismiss. This is why intellectuals, philosophers, and visionaries often find themselves isolated, not because they want to be alone, but because society pushes them away. The brain is wired to avoid cognitive threats, much like it avoids physical ones. Just as we flinch from heat or pain, we mentally retreat from ideas that challenge our deeply held beliefs. It's a survival mechanism rooted in our evolutionary past, when mental conformity meant group acceptance, and group acceptance meant survival. That wiring hasn't changed, even if the world has. Interestingly, studies show that confidence is often valued more than intelligence in social settings. People are naturally drawn to those who project certainty, even if their ideas are shallow. This is why charismatic but simplistic thinkers gain more influence than deep thinkers who speak with nuance. We live in a culture where how something is said often matters more than what is said. Charisma, confidence, and repetition have become the modern currency of persuasion. Meanwhile, depth requires effort. both to express and to absorb. This asymmetry explains why social platforms and public discourse often reward boldness over brilliance, catchiness over complexity. History is full of examples: populist leaders, motivational speakers, and viral influencers who thrive by telling people what they want to hear rather than challenging them to think critically. Meanwhile, those who question widely accepted beliefs often struggle to find a broad audience. Audiences crave comfort more than truth. A message that affirms their worldview will always spread faster than one that questions it. In today's hyper-stimulated environment, where attention spans are shrinking and information overload is constant, intellectual honesty becomes a hard sell. As a result, thinkers who prioritize integrity over applause often remain in the shadows, their voices drowned by the noise of mass affirmation. This is the paradox of intelligence. The more someone seeks truth, the more they become disconnected from the majority. The mirror effect does not just reflect society's limitations. It highlights why society resists change in the first place. Truth has never been a crowd pleaser. It demands mental labor, the abandonment of comfort, and the courage to unlearn. The mirror effect doesn't merely expose individual insecurities. It reveals a cultural aversion to evolution. Society clings to stability, even if it comes at the cost of progress. The deep thinker, in turn, becomes a reminder of paths not taken and truths left unexplored. But the question remains, if intelligence is so threatening, is there scientific proof that people actually fear it? Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that when people feel intellectually inferior, their brain's amygdala, the region responsible for fear and threat detection, becomes highly active. In simple terms, deep thinking is not just intimidating, it triggers a primal survival response, similar to what we feel when facing danger. This neurological response reveals a key truth. The brain doesn't differentiate between a physical threat and an existential one. The presence of someone intellectually superior can light up the same fear circuits as a looming predator. It's not logic that drives rejection, it's instinct. This also explains why even intelligent people can feel uneasy around those with more intellectual range. The brain reacts before the reasoning mind can intervene. But why does intelligence activate the same fear circuits as a physical threat? The answer lies in how human brains evolved for most of human history. Survival depended not on being the smartest person in the room, but on being accepted by the group. Our ancestors thrived in tribes where social harmony meant safety. Being rejected by the group could mean death, as isolation led to vulnerability. This tribal instinct still governs much of modern behavior. While we no longer face literal predators in the wild, social rejection remains one of the most deeply felt psychological threats. The intelligent outlier, by deviating from the group's shared mindset, is often unconsciously perceived as a destabilizer. Their questions don't just spark curiosity, they spark fear of exclusion, a fear etched deep into our species' collective memory. This is why human brains are wired for social acceptance over intellectual pursuit. When someone highly intelligent enters a social setting, they unknowingly disrupt the tribal balance. Their presence challenges existing ideas, social norms, and group dynamics. This triggers the brain's defense mechanism, as if facing a potential enemy rather than just a deeper thinker. Social ecosystems, whether in schools, offices, or communities, are designed to preserve order, not to welcome disruption. The deep thinker often becomes the uninvited catalyst of reflection, not because they seek conflict, but because their perspective unintentionally exposes cracks in collective belief systems. In such environments, neutrality is often mistaken for opposition. and introspection is perceived as rebellion. This is why many deep thinkers feel isolated, not because they lack social skills, but because their intelligence makes them stand out in a world that values fitting in over standing out. It's not that these individuals don't want connection, they just struggle to find spaces where they don't have to shrink themselves to be accepted. Many learn to mask their depth, not to deceive, but to survive socially. Ironically, the very gift that could elevate conversations often becomes the reason they are excluded from them. A 2021 study at Stanford University uncovered something even more shocking. The projection of deep thinkers is context-dependent. When people interact with an intellectual one-on-one, they feel less threatened, but in group settings, the threat response spikes dramatically. Why? Because social status becomes more important in groups. People don't just react to intelligence itself, they react to how others perceive them in comparison. This insight from Stanford unveils a fascinating paradox. Deep thinkers thrive in intimacy but struggle in public perception. In one-on-one conversations, their depth is seen as intriguing. In groups, the same depth becomes destabilizing, especially when it threatens social hierarchies. The collective mind doesn't assess intelligence in isolation. It filters it through the lens of competition and group identity. If someone feels outshined by a deep thinker, they instinctively try to undermine or exclude them to protect their social standing. This explains why deep thinkers often find genuine conversations in private settings, but struggle to engage in large social environments. Many intellectuals report that their most honest exchanges happen in quiet corners, not on stages, but in whispered debates, late-night dialogues, or written reflections. These spaces allow nuance to breathe. Public discourse, on the other hand, often prioritizes dominance over understanding, applause over insight. And in such arenas, the deep thinker is rarely the loudest voice, even when they're the wisest. Psychologists have identified several cognitive biases that further explain why intelligence is often met with resistance. The Dunning-Kruger effect: people with low ability often overestimate their intelligence, while highly intelligent people tend to doubt themselves. This creates friction. Those who know little often believe they know more than they do, leading them to dismiss deeper thinkers. This paradox is one of the most frustrating barriers for deep thinkers. When confidence exceeds competence, it dominates the room, regardless of truth. Intelligent individuals often remain cautious and self-aware, questioning their own conclusions. In contrast, the uninformed may speak with undue certainty. This imbalance fuels the social dominance of shallow thinkers and the marginalization of those with substance, status quo bias. The human brain prefers familiar ideas over new complex truths. Intelligence often introduces disruptive thoughts which make people uncomfortable. The backfire effect: when people are confronted with information that contradicts their beliefs, they don't change their minds, they double down on their existing views. Deep thinkers often face this reaction when they introduce challenging ideas. It's easier to cling to old errors than admit they were errors in the first place. This is why revolutions in thought often take generations, not because the new ideas lack merit, but because the old ones are emotionally embedded in identity, politics, and power. Deep thinkers unknowingly trigger a silent war between truth and comfort in others' minds. In the digital age, social media has amplified this rejection of intelligence. Algorithms prioritize engagement over depth, meaning that controversial, emotionally charged content spreads faster than thoughtful, well-reasoned arguments. Social media wasn't designed for nuance. It was designed for dopamine. Platforms reward outrage, simplicity, and speed, traits that run counter to intellectual discourse. As a result, thinkers find themselves in a paradox. The more nuanced their insights, the less likely they are to go viral. Truth, it seems, isn't algorithm-friendly. Take a look at the most viral content. Simple, catchy, and often misleading sound bites outperform nuanced discussions. The more intellectual someone is, the harder it is for them to compress deep ideas into bite-sized, viral-friendly content as a result. Society increasingly favors entertainment over enlightenment, making it even more challenging for deep thinkers to find widespread acceptance. The marketplace of attention is unforgiving to complexity. In a world that consumes headlines more than books, the thinker becomes a relic, respected in theory, but rarely heard. They are not rejected because they are irrelevant, but because they demand effort in a society addicted to ease. So what does this mean for deep thinkers? The rejection of intelligence isn't just social, it's biological, psych, ideological, and cultural. It is built into human nature, reinforced by group dynamics and magnified by modern technology. This doesn't mean deep thinkers should stop sharing their ideas, but it does mean that they need to understand the forces working against them. Understanding the battlefield is the first step toward mastering it. The intelligent mind must adapt, not by lowering its standard, but by learning the art of timing, delivery, and audience awareness. Sharing truth isn't about volume, it's about precision. And sometimes planting a single idea in the right soil yields more than shouting it across a barren field. But if society resists intelligence, what does it actually embrace? The answer lies in comfort, a world where predictability is preferred over truth. Comfort is the silent ruler of modern civilization. It's not that people hate truth. It's that truth often asks too much of them. It demands introspection, change, responsibility. Comfort, on the other hand, offers security without sacrifice. In this equation, the deep thinker must accept that enlightenment will rarely be the crowd favorite. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers in history, believed that intelligence is not a gift but a curse. Unlike other thinkers who saw intelligence as the key to success, Schopenhauer argued that the smarter a person is, the more they will struggle to connect with society. To Schopenhauer, awareness was a double-edged sword. While others chased happiness, he dissected its illusion. His writings offer not just critique, but clarity. Intelligence isn't a tool for acceptance. It's a mirror that reflects the absurdities of life and society, and few are comfortable looking into that mirror. Schopenhauer's philosophy was built on a concept he called the will, a blind, irrational force that drives all human behavior. According to him, most people live their lives controlled by the will to live, meaning they seek pleasure, comfort, and survival above all else. However, highly intelligent people operate differently. Instead of blindly following instincts, they develop the will to truth, an insatiable desire to understand reality even if it leads to discomfort. This distinction is crucial. While the masses are driven by impulse, the deep thinker seeks intention. The will to truth doesn't guarantee happiness, but it grants clarity. And clarity, though heavy, offers liberation from the illusions that enslave most. Schopenhauer compared intelligence to a heightened sense of awareness, a blessing that feels more like a curse. He wrote, "A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial." His reasoning was simple: the more you understand, the less you can ignore, the more aware you are of the world's flaws, the harder it is to find happiness in it. Perhaps it's not sadness that accompanies intelligence, but seriousness. The world's frivolities lose their charm when one sees beneath their surface, and while that may rob the thinker of certain pleasures, it replaces them with purpose, something more enduring than passing joy. So, if you've ever felt alone in your thoughts, know this. You are not broken, you are simply seeing the world for what it really is. Loneliness is not always a symptom of inadequacy. It's often a sign of rare clarity. The mind that sees deeply must walk differently, speak carefully, and listen widely. And in doing so, it joins a lineage of thinkers who, though scattered across time, have always been united by one thing: the courage to see the truth, even when the world looks away.